What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, and get better every single day. You're in for a treat. The gentleman I'm about to bring on, he does some cool stuff, and I love what he's passionate about with victory and leadership and mental health. Eric Guy is a licensed social worker, author, and internationally acclaimed speaker. As the founder of Center for Victory, he works with individuals and organizations across the country and around the world to help them unlock their personal potential and achieve their greatest success. In his role as Chief Victory Officer, Eric designs and facilitates training and retreats to assist families, educators, mental health providers, and business professionals to discover and embrace their personal genius and the power of their relationships. Well, I'm fired up to have you on the show, brother. I mean, we talk about some stuff I'm very passionate about. We have the Victory Officer. We have the Center for Victory. I'm Let's Go Win. I mean, we have some synergy going, brother. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, it's. I think we might have been just separated at birth. So yeah, looking forward to the discussion here.
Tell me about the Center for Victory. It's a cool name. I think it explains it, but I'm like, all right, cool. I want to know more about this.
I think we're just, how it all started was that, I was trying to find that, victory. What does that look like? For me, long time ago, it was actually just, how to be happy, which is kind of ironic, but yeah, just a lot of things in helping people succeed and be the champion of their own life. I think too many people rely on external things to get them motivated, get them juiced up. And there might be a time for that for a coach or a therapist or something like that. But ultimately, we want to empower people to be their best selves and feel like they're in control of that. And so whatever we're doing, whether we're working with individuals, coaching them, working with families, or what we do most is work with businesses. That's what we're trying to establish. Like, where is that? How do you find victory in your own life, personally and professionally?
Yeah, it seems like a basic concept, and yet so many of us or folks, like you said, at some point you were looking for this. Really, the limitations, I think they start with us. At some point, it's like there are no external factors that are keeping you from victory or from winning, other than when you look in the mirror. How do we help people really get past that? And again, it's a big question, and I know there's a lot that goes into it. But when you see these groups, these businesses, these individuals come in, and you see the self-limiting beliefs that are happening, which again, that's part of the hardest thing, right? We can see it so clearly from the outside. Looking in the mirror so often, that's the challenge, is people don't realize, who the real obstacle is me.
Yeah.
So where do you start with that, Eric? What does that look like with your group?
Usually it's just with the self-awareness, awareness of self, right? We're working, what I would say, what we work a lot on is EQ, emotional intelligence. Being self-aware of what you're bringing to the table, how you impact your environment, impact others, how you're impacting everything that you're doing, and what your mindset is. And going back, I think it's, a lot of people that we work with, especially on an individualized basis or a smaller cohort of group, is really helping them understand their story and how that plays out today, right? If you were around a winner growing up all your life, there's a good chance you're much farther ahead and have a better mindset. But some people are, they're just kind of caught up in, oh, woe is me, or they've had an upbringing that doesn't have that kind of mindset, and they have to change, and they have to start looking at themselves. And I don't think that's always easy for people. Well, I know that's not always easy for people, because that's a lot of feedback we get. I'm sure you've heard that too. It's not always fun to look at those things because some of them don't feel good sometimes. And, whatever you're doing, whether it's, physical, mental, whatever, you have to go through, that valley to kind of get to the mountain, so to speak.
Was there a moment, a book, a mentor that you were like, all right, I kind of finally figured it out for me? Because like you said, you were searching for this. And I know it's an ever evolving thing. It certainly has been for me. And like you said, the peaks and the valleys, man. The truth is, even, that I focus on let's go win, you focus on, being the chief victory officer, that doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like there's some stuff we're gonna go through, no matter how focused we are on winning. And I'm just curious, is there a moment that really you said, yep, I got it? And I guess the second follow up question is, when you face these challenges where you don't feel like you're winning, where you feel like victory is out of my grasp, where it's like, man, real life is happening to me too. What do you do to kind of flip that on its head and get back to those winning ways?
Yeah, so I'll start with that first one. I think there were a couple ahas along the way. Um, Book wise, I mean, the first book, just a little bit of my background, and I don't think many people believe this just because of where I'm at now and how many books I consume just on a monthly basis. But Think and Grow Rich. I mean, for whatever reason, my father had that laying around. I still have that, original copy. It's really dark and, because the pages have faded and things like that. But I still have that. I still have that book. That was eye opening to me. Like now it's not. And when I go back, I think when I'm working with someone, I always go back to that time where it was like, oh, wait, I'm more in control than anybody's ever told me. And I think that was like I was 19, and what was funny about that is I could barely get through that book because at that point in time I really couldn't read that well. Actually, when I went to college, I had to have a remedial teacher because I did not go wasn't set up to go to college for my academic prowess. It was more my athletic prowess, and you know I had a fantastic teacher. It was actually our defensive coordinator's wife who taught me how to read and taught me how to read well. And I read that book and I was like, wow. And I think that was a moment where I was like, oh, that was good. I always attribute, uh, I would say a literally game changing moment for me was, I mean, when I was a senior, our football team had a great year. We were having a fantastic year in the playoffs. I think it was our first or second playoff game. Towards the end, we had it kind of in the bag, and I just went up to deflect the pass and came down wrong on my leg and tore my MCL and ACL. But it was the Monday after that game when we were preparing for the next week that a coach of mine, he saw me in the training room and he's like, "You're not getting dressed for practice." And I was like, "No, I can't do anything." He's like, "Really?" He says, "You can't hurt it anymore." And that was a game changer for me because it hurt a little bit, but he stuck with it. That same coach, I still get together with him twice a year, and we just chit chat. But I mean, I would have loved to tell you that next game we won, but we didn't. We lost, and you know in that playoff round. But I'm thankful for that because that was a very low point. And sometimes I go back to that as like I can make it through because I would have much rather have been on that field with my teammates battling it out than I could have just been, on the sidelines. Um, and I think the other thing that gets me going when it's really difficult is the fact of when I started wanting to do things differently. I was pursuing my wife, and she was at college, and was known to on that campus to already have a bit of a temper. So she said no. The joke is 15 times. I don't know how much it actually was, but it was probably just short of a restraining order. How many times I asked her, and I just that was one thing I knew I wanted. Like I knew it. Like I had like that was in my mind that was the perfect person for me. After I did some soul searching and shortly after I read that book, it was probably only a few months after I read that book, got really clear on what it was. And After that first date, they say the rest is history. Sometimes I go back to that because, you know, we've been together for 30 years now. And, I always remember that day of like, okay, I can do that. I did it then. That was the things I did to just get a date were crazy. I don't think I'll ever have to do anything like that to get anybody to do anything with me or get a sale or whatever like that. Uh, so I always go back to those things. There's obviously more, but those are things that kind of stick out. And those days where I'm, because I think people just automatically assume that after you're done, you get up, after you're done working through these things, that you just get up and, every day's bliss.
Hmm.
And there's just, I always say, bigger levels, bigger devils. I would love today to go against some of the stuff that I thought was difficult years ago. I look back at it like I was really worried about that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's getting back on the horse, reminding yourself, hey, look, you've been through this, you've been through, a couple other things, and we do help people do that. I mean, some of the things that we do, we take leaders on adventures. One of the biggest adventures we take people on is a Grand Canyon rim to rim.
Wow.
And my wife and I have done that together. And I tell you what, the old saying that we tell people is, the person that goes in the canyon is not the person that comes out of the canyon, because that's in one day. That's 24.5 miles. Last year at the bottom of the canyon, it was 122 degrees. Uh, you're pushing yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally when you have that, and you have those experiences that stretch the brain like that. It never goes back. And so if you can continue to have those experiences, uh, you just build on that. So when the days get tough, you come back to those things, like, that book, my coaches, that the interaction with my wife, well, trying to date her, and then, things like that. It all brings it back into perspective, I think, and just say, hey, look, it's really not that bad. Move through it. You're fortunate to have this challenge. Let's make a go of it.
Yeah, it is interesting how both your coach and then I have not done the rim to rim, but I've done some crazy things where it's not physically that's going to break you. It always comes back to our mind, right? Like if you don't succeed in business, succeed in uh, finding you see your soulmate and actually getting her to take that first step, it always comes back to our mindset, literally every time. And what I love about what your coach said is like, look, man, you can't hurt anymore. So this is not, yes, you're going to be through some physical pain, but it's going to be here. Your mentality is the one that's going to really allow you to succeed. So it sounds like you do hard stuff to really, I guess, train yourself to say, yeah, there's nothing I cannot overcome. Is it that simplistic, Eric? And is it on a daily basis that you seek out hard things to do to really train that resiliency?
Yeah, I mean, especially physically for me. Like, uh, I got away from that as I got busy. The I would say the late 2000s into the 10, 11, 12, and things like that. And my health took a hit for that, and I had to, force me to push into some things. But I think it's beneficial. It's something that I think that we need. Um, I imagine we're probably similar in age. Not sure quite how old you are, but I think one of the biggest things that I found out a while back is that especially men in our age group, even the ones that are doing well in life, one of the number one things that are uh, killing men in our age group is suicide, because there's just lack of purpose, because things, some of it is just we get too comfortable. And then there's, just take it easy. And I'm not saying, go balls to the wall all the time, but you do need a challenge. Our brains need to fix on something that's purposeful. That's why I don't think, full retirement is ever, I don't think, a good idea. But that's a subject for another day. Uh, but you know, challenging yourself that way, whether it's mentally, how many books you're going to read, or physically, whether it's grinding every morning. I like to get up and do that because it does make me feel better. I like the challenges. I like to look forward to those things. Um, the other thing that's, I guess, is beneficial to me that I need to say that is my friends and family have been part of that, so it makes it that much more fun, right? So I ran my first marathon this past May with it was a gift from my son and daughter-in-law, so I ran it with them, and it was a great time. I've been on hikes with everybody in my family. Uh, like I said, my wife did rim to rim last year with me. That was a very emotional thing for us, especially the last 3 miles. It was all mindset. Like we're laughing, we're crying, we're laughing, we're crying, and then we're out. And it's like we did it. We did it together. So all those things I do think come into play. I think we need to stretch ourselves and put ourselves in a little bit of a challenging situation so we can continue to grow.
Yeah, the mental health thing, it's really close to home for me. And the reason I say that is, I'm 46 to answer your question. So, yeah, man, I've both experienced it. Obviously, that's how I lost my dad 2.5 years ago, was to suicide when he was 71. And currently, again, I don't talk about this often, but my brother is mightily struggling, and is in jail as we speak.
Mm.
And it all has to do with mental health. And I will tell you, as somebody that works on their mindset on a daily basis, I will say working with your family or those closest to you, really trying to help, that is such a fantastically frustrating thing, because I want it so bad for them, right? I want them to be well. I want them to do all these things. And yet, at the end of the day, it really starts with them, right? You can't change someone's belief.
Mm-hmm.
I've never changed anybody's belief in my life. Have I influenced? Sure, but the ability to actually say, I want this more for you, it just doesn't work, or at least I haven't found it. Have you found that to be the same for yourself? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because again, it's something I want to eradicate. I don't want to talk about mental health and let's sweep it under the rug. No, it's a real it's a thing, man. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about it and let's see what we can do to really help. I know you work with mental health providers. When I say all that, what's your thoughts, brother? Because this is a big subject. It's something I'm passionate about. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we say it's okay that you're not okay. Let's do something about it. I think that's kind of the platform I'm at. But man, I'm not suggesting I know it all, because I don't. And I want to continue to help more people so we don't have the suicides and these manic episodes and bipolar and all these nasty things that come with mental health. So it's a lot I just dumped on you there, brother. But I'm just curious for your thoughts and what you've seen working with some of these mental health providers, and your own thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I think it's if we don't do something about it, it's just going to get out of control. Which I don't know if you would call it out of control now. We're seeing some of the ramifications of it, even in our, especially in our elementary schools, as the COVID kids come in to those grades, and we're seeing the elevation of that. I mean, holy cow, who knows what's going to happen with just everybody around all this election stuff, things like that. It gets people out of whack quite a bit. The health, COVID, and just not dealing with it correctly. I don't think we've been taught to deal with it correctly. One of those things is we've got this lifestyle now that isn't quite conducive to good mental health, right? And I'm not going to knock electronics all the time, but having that and not getting away from it, I think it affects our brain. Things like that. Not taking the time to get out in nature, taking too much time, just behind our desk. I mean, I can't feel good if I'm sitting all day and then not exercising, right? And then that work goes home with us. We saw the influx of mental health issues through COVID. You would think it would be less because people were at home, but some of that research or statistics said that people were actually working more because they were working into the night. They didn't know how to shut off things. I think our eating habits are just atrocious. If you look at things like that, and I really think the big thing is, and again, I know this more for men, is relationship. We don't do a great job connecting. We get, especially men, we get too connected to work, 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 and then we hit our late 40s and 50s, and it's like, well, I completed all this, but there's really no one around to share it, and just the I think the stress of just everyday work. I know, it's like in the construction arena. I mean, there's a same thing, large percentage of suicide. I was conducting a podcast with a restaurateur last week, and it's crazy. I mean, he had the stats of all the mental health. He went through divorce and mental health issues and substance abuse issues. The percentages were nuts. Right? I'm not going to try to quote it because I can't remember, but there's like, I think he said like 1,100 suicides every year in that field. And I think we need to be more aware of it. And I'm glad somebody else isn't stopping talking about it and not kicking it on, you can't just kick it under the rug. It needs to be addressed. And I think there are lots of ways, to do that, whether just to make people aware of it, reaching out to somebody that is struggling. The family thing is difficult, right? I know that. You want them to get better. I think you want everybody. I think I would want everybody to experience what I experience. I mean, that's at least what I get. When I go into a coaching session with anybody, that's what I want them to experience, is that peace and that mindset. And it does all come back to that. I think we get too far ahead of ourselves. So, I mean, I could go on and on about that, but it is such a topic that we need to just continue to press into and help people with, and really get people on board of what it means to actually be healthy, to stay healthy, and just figure it out. Right? I just think people get lost, and then they're off to their own devices because they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not here to beat on electronics either, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have my cell phones. I have 3 screens in front of me as we speak. It's not like I don't use them. But the theme that I'm hearing as you're talking, you talked about doing your first marathon. You talked about doing, the rim to rim, both of which involve moving the body, right? Being outside with vitamin D and the sun and Mother Nature. And if I were to simplify, like, hey, if you're feeling blue, the first thing to do is literally go outside and move. Like, that would be, I think that's not solving the problem, but it's certainly a good start. Have you always been an active guy? Is this something, you were an athlete, you said, growing up, playing football, but is that something that you've always just continued with, or has that become even more, are you more intentional about it? I guess would really be the thing, because I know when I'm not feeling my best, which, by the way, guys, yes, as a performance and mindset coach, yes, I too get down, and yes, I need to figure out my own ways. That's how I can coach on this stuff, because and Eric's laughing because he gets down too, right? You're a human being. But is it that simple to say, look, if you're not feeling good, let's go move, man. Let's start that with that little thing first.
Absolutely. I think we make it too complex. All these solutions we make too complex. If you want a better relationship, spend time and be present with somebody. Oh, that doesn't seem too difficult, but why aren't people doing it? If it's just as simple as moving around, then go do it. Well, I got this, I got that. A gentleman yesterday that I was coaching, he's like, yeah, just at the end of the day, I don't feel like doing it, and then so I don't do it. Well, if you want to get help, if you want to lose weight, don't eat garbage. I mean, and again, I'm oversimplifying it a little bit, but yeah, get up and move. You have to get up and move. What it does to you, especially if you can get outside. You mentioned vitamin D. That's great to see that sunshine, to see just especially in nature. Just to get out in nature. I can't remember the gentleman that did the research, but I think they call it the 3-day rule, right? When you're out in nature without, for extended period of time, how that actually just slows down your system. You regulate more, brain chemicals are functioning. They saw a huge difference, I think, in vets that had like PTSD symptoms. They saw, drastic decrease in that. We just don't do it. I mean, we have everything around us, to do that, but we just don't get away. And I'm fortunate. I live, I'm surrounded by woods, and our office is actually on our property, which is so beneficial. It used to not be, but I mean, just absolutely love that now. I could go out. I had my coffee with the deer this morning, but they just come right up. I'm fortunate enough to have that, but I also have to take advantage of it. There are people that I know that are just like me that just go for a walk. You know, get up, move around. Yeah, it is just amazing how much that does for you, especially if you could go do it with people that you like. It's amazing how much that can help just your mental health system, just getting up, getting going. And I do think we need to do it, way more than we do.
Yeah, so I'm curious. Just let's take a practical scenario. When you do get faced with, as you said, it's you look back and you're like, "Gosh, I wish I was dealing with that problem now." Even though in the time, it's like it feels like your whole world's upside down. I mean, when you're 14, the girl that broke up with you, life as we know it has ceased to exist. I mean, I remember feeling those feelings, and now you just look back and you're like, "Well, that was really silly." When something gets you today, let's say some, I don't know, the country song plays and you got a flat tire and I don't, your dog died. Not that I, please knock on wood, let's hope that doesn't happen, but life happens. What is your process, brother? How do you deal with it? Because I think often as coaches, that's the most, I want to give them tangible, real stuff that they, the audience members listening to.
Yeah.
When life happens, this is how Eric attacks it. Do you have a process, brother? Or what does that look like for you?
I mean, I start every morning just getting centered. I mean, yeah, my faith is a big part of my walk. So, that's how I start the morning. Every morning is that routine. So if I have earlier morning meetings, my day just gets earlier. So I wake up. I think waking up early, that's been a game changer for me, right? Because there's less noise, like all around. Nobody was ever up and home. Even when my kids lived with us, nobody's around. So getting centered, and then the next is exercise. So I'm doing it somehow, whether it's outside, inside. I think having what I've learned, and again, this is what I've works for me. I just get up and go after it every morning. Years ago, I myself and another accountability partner, we just got the Apple Watches and hooked them together, and we've stayed accountable to daily exercise. I think we're on 1,700 and some days, with the just what we get to. So when I get pinged in the morning, when my feet hit the ground and I put on that watch and he's already doing something, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta go, and vice versa. But it's funny because combined, when we started that, this has been years ago, but when we started that, I think combined we had almost together lost close to like 90 or 100 pounds, together, just getting healthier. I tend to I think what also helps for me is I don't really eat in the morning. They say breakfast is they did say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I think that's a bunch just the hogwash of all the cereal companies years ago saying that. But, doing things like that, and sometimes I'll just put my pack on and go, so I just get out, nature, do that. Um, those are the big things that I really do in the day. And what I've noticed when I can't do as much of it, I don't even feel as centered because I'm not. Yeah, I can't remember the last day I haven't been able to do that. So I'll do something like that. And, that really, I'd say that really gets me centered. That's a practical, tangible thing that I do that people will go, well, just, going back to your point, well, can't be that easy. Well, it is. Like it puts me in the right frame of mind because there are some mornings that I'll be like, I think it was yesterday morning or the day before where I was just like, man, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I start, get a little grounded. For me, it's like a devotion or something like that. And then, get on, the elliptical or the bike or the rower or something and just start going after it. And I would say probably maybe 5-6 minutes into it, I'm like, okay, I'm going now. Right. And then it's funny because like this morning I had it, like I didn't want to stop. You're like, okay, it feels so good. Let's keep on going. Like how much can we go? So those are the practical things that I do. And I would say that especially the past 10 years, we've really dialed in our diets here at home. So my wife and I, that was more of a health issue for me, but it was great because it helped a lot of people that I coach too, just having that knowledge of those things as well. And I would say the other thing is that I've said before is, always have a couple challenges every year for yourself that are going to push you a little bit. Those are just, for me, those are just things to look forward to.
Yeah, it really is the snowball sitting at the top of the hill. There's days that snowball just doesn't want to go, but if you just push it just enough, guess what? Now it starts to build on itself. And like Eric said, I don't even want to stop, man. I'm not going to. Not that I want to dive into a quick issue because you've said food several times, and I agree with you. We eat like absolute garbage in this country. Some of which, by the way, is not, I will say, it's not all our fault. There's a lot of real misinformation out there on what is available to what's healthy, what's not. And yet we're talking about mindset, and no question, the gut and the brain are linked, right? They call your gut it's your second brain.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say diet, brother, what did that look like? What does that change for you? Like I'm gluten free, I'm dairy free. I have been for 11 years gluten free, and I don't know, 40 or 30 years, excuse me, I've been dairy free. But what did that look like for you? And what was the big, like, did you get more mental clarity? What did you physically feel better? Because I guess at the end of the day, they're linked. And I think that's what I want. What I'm feeling as this is going, there's a theme here. Move your body, that helps your mindset. Change your diet, that helps your mindset. Be in relationship, that helps your mindset. So all three of the things that we're talking about go back to your mind, which that's allowed you to attract your wife, build your business, can compete in the football game you're talking about. So, but all of these things are linked to our mindset. So again, when you get me thinking, and so I put it all like purge on you. But I guess the overall thought is, with diet, what did that look like for you, and how did that make you feel, both physically and mentally, the changes that you made?
Yeah, to back up, I had to figure it out. I was at a point over 10 years ago where I was just, my health was, I would just say it was wrecked. I was very fortunate for me because I was in a group at the time that allowed me to just go into some of the best hospitals in the country, right? At direct access, you pick up the phone and you've got an appointment in a couple weeks with the top doctors. And at that point in time, I had unbelievable joint pain, and I was my hands were swelling up. I didn't know what was going on. I had gone to the PCP. They had diagnosed me with a couple things. I was starting to go to doctors. So I was getting diagnosis of like MS, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm like, and I'm in my 30s, like. Like what's like this can't be going on, and it got so bad, man. I just got to you want to talk about going to a dark place. Man, it got really dark, and I went to Cleveland Clinic. I got whole day. I mean, they just poked and prodded me, and fabulous doctor. I wish I could remember her name because I would wish I could find her again just to thank her, because she spent the whole day with me. I mean, blood tests, MRIs, X-ray, everything, anything that you could imagine. And she herself called me back probably about a week later, and I had already been trying some things and looking into it because I just wanted to feel better. So I'd already started like eliminating like sugar and things like that. And she called me and she said, um, "There's really on paper nothing wrong with you."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Really?" So then I'm like, "Oh man, I'm like losing it." Right? Because the pain was real. It was like, it was real. And she said, "However, have you started eliminating anything out of your diet?" And I was like, "It's funny. Like, I thought that, I would start with sugar." She said, "Keep doing that. I want you to go back to your PCP, because they've got some blood tests that you need to follow up on." And I did that. And it was funny because it wasn't any doctor. It was actually the nurse practitioner a few days later that found out that my vitamin D levels were really low. They had just tanked. And she put me on that supplement. I had initially got off sugar and bread, right? So gluten and things like that. Within 2 weeks, I mean, I felt like a different person. And I
Wow.
was like, "This is nuts." And then I started looking around the house. Like everything that I thought was maybe healthy for me was not. Like I didn't even realize. One of the things that it's funny still, because I don't eat it at all anymore, was ketchup. I mean,
Hmm.
ketchup's just packed with sugar. And I remember going to the refrigerator and turning the label around. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy." But it was things like that and changing the diet. And I think then a few years after that, then I started doing, some intermittent fasting and things like that, which has helped tremendously. But it's been beneficial because it's helped other people in my life. It's helped my coaching clients. I mean, I have one gentleman that he's actually a D1 athlete. He's getting ready to graduate this year, but he had Crohn's in high school, really bad Crohn's.
Wow.
And I told his mom, I said, "Hey, look, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I've experienced." They hooked into a naturopath, and no more symptoms of Crohn's. He didn't even start taking any medication. He just changed his diet and the way he did things. My brother is a great example too, because he would always make fun of how I ate, until he started having issues. He's younger than me and has been on blood pressure medication for years. And he started eating different, and then he started exercising too. He's actually going on one of the trips next week with us. He's going out to Glacier with us, and he's off all his medication. And it was one of those things. It's like, man, can I really feel this much better? But then I go back to, you watch everybody then, and you see all the obesity, and especially in kids. Oh my goodness. I think we're just, they're starting to report like younger and younger kids with, diabetes, cancer, and things like that. That's when it gets real scary, because I think if we don't change that, right, because that leads to bad mental health too. I mean,
Yep.
the other question that you said, was there clarity? Oh my goodness, yes. man, I tell you, felt like I was walking out of a fog, because then I wasn't concentrating on the pain. I did do some other panels. So those that are listening to this, I think it's important. Like, I haven't stopped. Like, after that, I did, some panels to figure out what I was allergic to. Years later, I think, actually, it's only been like 3 or 4 years ago. I went further with that to see uh, what I was short on. So I did some other panels, some other blood testing to see what vitamins I didn't have, like, producing in my body. And then, there's other things that you can do to see what foods work best for you, all those things. And some of those things that I was allergic to actually aren't bad for people.
Right.
That
They're
was
not good for you, right?
just not good for me. And one of the big ahas that I had, it was 3 years ago, I think. Um, I did that blood panel, and it came back, and the docs said, you're really deficient in vitamin B. And I'm like, can't be. Like, I take a supplement every morning. There's just no way. He's like, you're extremely deficient. What are you taking? And I showed him. He said, your body, it's going straight through your body. You need a different kind. You need methylated B. So I mean, it's just like, that was one little thing that really changed things. And again, helped me out, right? Because I could feel almost immediately within a few weeks the difference that has with going from a deficiency then having it. And it was that one little thing, just not knowing that one little thing. I needed a methylated B vitamin, and that's, those things are game changers.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is it's an ever evolving thing. It drives my wife crazy because she's like, "Can't you just settle on?" And I'm like, "No," because I'm in search of the absolute peak. So currently, it's carnivore. That's been my thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also intermittent fast. I absolutely love it, but I do it all to feel the very best that I can. Now, I recently was on over 2 weeks being on a trip, and I felt like shit, man, because my I was eating poorly. My exercise routine was all over the map. I was always getting something in, but it just tells me how important the routine is. You mentioned, by the way, that you're going to Glacier, which, by the way, I'm from Montana. Glacier National Park is my favorite place in the entire world. Tell me what y'all are doing out there and how somebody like myself even could be like, yeah, man, Eric, I love Glacier. What are you guys doing? Because it's a magical place. I'm excited for you and whoever else is going. But what are you guys doing out there?
Yeah. So we'll be going out Wednesday. We start our adventure. So we'd have 3 different hikes for people on 3 different days. So we'll go and do those hikes all together. And then when we come back, we all have dinner together. And then it's personal and professional development at night. So we'll walk through some things, mindset, things like that. Here's what to do. We'll have some discussion, but it'll be real focused on that development of the person. So getting out, getting refreshed in nature, and then coming back, having a good dinner together, and then working on some things and being intentional about that. So bang, 3 nights in a row, 3 days in a row, great hikes. And it is, man, it is a gorgeous place. So we have a chief adventure officer here at Center for Victory, and he's a trained guide. That's what he does. He and his wife. But last year we went out, and usually before we do any of our engagements, we go out and make sure, hey, look, here's where we're going to go. So we typically go out the year before and just make sure, here's where we're going to go, here's what we're going to do, here's the backup plan and all that. So we were out there last year about the same time, and I remember going into the airport because I love Kalispell. That airport is my kind of airport. It's like, it's right, so small, but we're walking in, and it's still dark out because it's real early in the morning. And I just looked up at the sky. I looked at him. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You sure you want to leave?" Because I was like, this place is gorgeous. So yeah, I mean, I'm really pumped for this trip. I'm really excited about it because everything that we do is combined in that itinerary.
Well, it's a great way to do it. I mean, again, I haven't been with you on these adventures, but I can only imagine going on the hike, all the things that are happening mentally, physically, all the challenges, their heads are spinning. And then guess what? We're going to talk about it. We're going to work on it. And I mean this as the greatest compliment. It is a simplistic, beautifully planned thing. Like, kudos to you for figuring this out, man. Like, I've been on different adventures like that, but I love the way you did it. It's like, hey, man, we're going to do a hike. We're going to come back. We're going to work on some stuff. And all of it's curated because you have literally developed it on your own hike. It's really cool, man. Eric, I can't believe how the time has flown by. It's already 45 minutes in. If people wanted to get involved with you guys, Center for Victory, all the amazing things you're doing, where's the best place for them to connect with you and find you online?
So centerforvictory.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Eric Guy. We have Instagram, stuff like that, our YouTube channel as well. So any of those are fair game.
Awesome. Well, brother, have the best time in Glacier. I am sending love and prayers that there is no smoke when you get up there, because I just got back from Montana. There was some, but I'm hoping that, we're getting into, we're recording this at the end of September, so I'm thinking you guys should be good. So, brother, have the best time out there. And thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm going to be on Eric's show, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. But look, I love the simplicity of what we talked about today. Really, it was taking care of your mindset. And how do you do that? You do it physically. You do it by moving the body. You do it by taking care of your diet. And you do it by connecting, which we didn't even really get a chance to talk about. But don't suffer in silence, you guys. Find your community. Reach out. Eric's got a great community. Let's Go Win's got a great community. Look, there's someone out there for you. So make sure you plug in. Share this with someone you love. And until next time, remember, your mindset matters. I appreciate you guys so very, very much. We'll talk to you soon.